Coffee stain badge on a lanyard string. Hotel ballroom, buzzing, fluorescent wings. Name tags, crooked inside jokes. We live on acronyms and conference notes. Late night panels, early flights, still swapping war stories under dim lights. If the world goes sideways, who they gonna call? The weirdo taking roll in the expo hall. I am talks tonight. Yeah, we laugh so we don't lose our minds. Blue skies days to the worst headline. We're the ones still on the run. I am talks tonight.
Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are in this fine nation. Today, we're talking about, National Emergency Management Awareness Month. I was about to say Preparedness, but that's September. And I got Spencer Hawkins with me and Richard Porto. So realistically, these two people here are the ones that are really driving this year's event. And so I thought it would be great to have them on and talk about what we're doing. And this is our second annual IAEM push for this. And Spencer and Rachel, welcome to IAEM Talks.
Awesome. Thanks for having us, Todd.
So, Spencer, I'll start with you because just a couple things that I know that are happening, especially on the government affairs side, is you just had a successful trip to the Hill, and that was really kind of setting us up for what we're doing in August. But go ahead, start with that and tell everybody.
Yeah, we've done this for a few years. We call them our fly-ins, and so it's our opportunity to get local emergency managers in front of those elected representatives and usually their staff who make decisions on what impacts us in emergency management. And so this year we're trying something a little different. We're doing it kind of regional based. And so this year we had somebody from North Carolina, Texas, and Illinois head up and spend the entire day meeting with different legislators, their staff, to really impress upon them what's important in emergency management at the boots on the ground level. You know, what are we doing? What are those decisions, those votes? How do they impact us doing real world emergency management? It actually turned out that there was some testimony going on for the FEMA Act that's working its way through the legislative body. And so our teams got to meet got to sit in and listen to some of that testimony. And then they also got to spend a few minutes with Senator Langford of Oklahoma. So it was a great opportunity for us to share who we are and what we do in IAEM.
Awesome. Congratulations on that success, and looking forward for us doing more of that. I know you have some plans for doing another one in the fall. So that's exciting stuff. It really shows that as an organization that we can open doors, and that's why it's important to be a part of what we do at IAEM, is so we can open doors to have these conversations and to really be the voice for emergency management on the Hill. So Rachel, you know your group, this is the second year as well. Well, Government Affairs has been around more than 2 years, but this is the second year that we've had the Community and Member Engagement Committee. You took the helm this year. Tell me a little bit about what you guys are doing, and we could get into Awareness Month here, or Advocacy Month, and August, what you guys are planning.
Perfect. Well, I think broadly, since we're still a pretty new committee, we've been focusing on figuring out what is it that we want to do with our committee and how are we going to make the most impact for members and how they get engaged with IAEM. But a big focus, of course, is National Emergency Management Awareness Month. And I think this year's focus is, we already know how awesome we are. How do we make sure that we get out of the echo chamber and start making sure that other people, the people who are decision makers, recognize how awesome we are? And so what has been really exciting is we've been partnering with Government Affairs Committee to make the emphasis about advocacy for our profession and visibility for our profession. I really think that's the direction and future of what our committee is going to do, is work to increase our visibility and partner with GAC for advocacy.
So we have a toolkit that's been created. I know that it is on the new website. Let's talk about the new website for a second. Just because, my chicken, so the new website, I think it's kind of cool. I've been getting in there and looking at it. So we do have, and it's also, we'll be in, if you go to our Substack, we have a link to it there, but we'll show it up here as well. Talk about what is there and what the toolkit's all about. It's Spencer or Rachel, or both of you guys, so whoever wants to take it.
I'll start on this one. I'm really excited about the new website and the new connection. And I think I'm excited for it in kind of a dual-pronged approach, if you will. On the public-facing side, I think the redesign that's been done on the website makes it really updates the layout, makes it easier to navigate. It's much more mobile-friendly because nobody's using computers anymore and everything's on your phone and tablet. So the mobile-friendly version is awesome. And it makes it easy to find different things and get in different information for those non-emergency managers who may be interested in learning more about emergency management. And on that side, we've got a whole page dedicated to National Emergency Management Awareness Month. That's both for us internal wonky emergency managers, and there's like templates on how to write a letter to your elected representative, what should be in a proclamation, all that kind of cool stuff. And then there's another side to it that for the folks that have no idea who we are, what we do as emergency managers, there's kind of a EMA 101 for the uninitiated. And then, Rich, do you want to talk about the Connect side and all the work that's been done there?
Yeah. Okay. So perfect segue. So IAEM Connect is, I think, the component that I'm most excited to see updated because how we engage with each other in this space, I think, really does matter. And no shade to the previous IAEM Connect, but this is definitely a 2.0. And there's all sorts of great ways to get engaged in committees. You can update your profile like a LinkedIn profile. I didn't even know that until I was in a meeting and Spencer showed me that was a capability, but it's really cool. You can get connected with people who have different subject matter expertise and get engaged. The functionality of the discussions is completely revamped. There's the opportunity to share files and resources with each other there too. And so IAEM Connect has had a real big, not just a facelift, but it's been completely overhauled, I would say. I just want to add in terms of some of the resources for Awareness Month. Spencer hit on some of the great pieces for advocacy, but for members, an email went out Wednesday that had a lot of really great information and links to the different resources that are available. So, there's a campaign promotional kit that has been created for National Emergency Management Awareness Month. So they've got ready to go graphics and sample posts, things to help you kind of develop maybe your social media campaign for your jurisdiction. So that's a really great resource that we're excited to have for folks. There's also a 30-day participation calendar that's linked in that email. We want people to get engaged. We're looking to kind of gamify your participation this year. So go check that out. Definitely follow along. And there's also a survey that I think is pretty critical that folks know about for telling our EM story. So there's an EM story survey, and your responses to that survey will help us tell your story during Awareness Month. So if you haven't checked your email or seen it yet, Wednesday is when it would have been sent, and go check that out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of the things too that we have to really consider as far as being members of this organization is that we do send out a lot of great information via email. And I know people who sign up and don't opt in to get emails, and then they're kind of wondering like, oh, what are we doing? And that's really one of those. I promise you that IAEM is not spamming you with a bunch of emails, right? It's just, it's kind of a bummer sometimes when you want to send stuff out and like you have a bunch of people that aren't going to get it, and they're missing some great information. And definitely get involved with the Connect, the communities that are on Connect. I have to do a better job myself of getting in there, because sometimes I say I forget, and then you get in there and go, oh wow, I missed these posts that I could have had information. There's great stuff over there. Great place to ask questions too, if you're looking for if you're new to the organization and trying to find mentors and whatnot.
I want to jump on one thing, if you don't mind. I think one of the things too, that when Rachel and I jumped in both feet first into the deep end of the pool for Awareness Month, when we started this, both of us realized, and we wanted to make sure that we understood that we're hearing from our members that a lot of our EM organizations, our offices and agencies out there, are 1 and 2 person organizations. You do not have time to look at a blank sheet of paper and write a proclamation, or figure out a social media campaign, or figure out who are your elected representatives that you need to talk to. And so that was really important, that we wanted to make this as easy as possible for you. And so that's why there's so many resources there. And, they always say that, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. We're not talking imitation, just steal it. It's up there. Take those templates, take that information, plug your information in to get the recognition that you deserve. Get the recognition that you work in tirelessly, day in and day out. I've been a part of a 1 and 2 person EM shop, and it's hard. And so if all you can do is schedule a few social media posts, awesome. That's great. Do what you can. Don't feel like you have to, keep up with the Joneses EMA. Do what you can. Do what makes sense for you, and let that rock out for you. And then if you have any other questions or comments, we're going to have an ongoing discussion in the IAEM member community and IAEM Connect. Ask questions. We'll be there to give you advice and support.
Hey, real quick, I want to share this video that maybe you've seen already at one point, but I think it's worth watching again.
Most people don't think about emergency managers. We understand why. We're not the ones driving ambulances or putting out the fires.
Instead, we're behind the scenes, making sure that those resources have everything they need before they know they need it.
Because we knew the risks and worked together to be ready. Every day, we unite the people who keep our communities thriving. The schools that care for your children,
The hospitals that heal our loved ones, the utility providers that keep the lights on and the water flowing, the elected officials that make decisions, and the first responders who protect us all.
Together, we plan, we train, we build relationships before the emergency happens. We write the plans no one hopes to need.
and we ask questions that make people uncomfortable. Because we know what happens when pressure is real and minutes are short.
We've seen what it looks like when communities aren't ready, when chaos takes over, when families look for help that isn't coming.
We do our job so that the next time the outcome is different. Because this job isn't just about plans or systems or strategies.
It's about walking our communities through their darkest days and helping them find their way back.
No matter how long that recovery takes.
If you look for us, we can be found in all levels of government.
Local, state, tribal, federal, U.S. territories, and internationally.
We're in your schools, colleges, and universities, in your nonprofits, utilities, and transit systems.
We even work behind the scenes where you shop, work, and unwind on the weekend.
You may not know our names, but we're here.
Every day.
Ready to hold the pieces together.
When it seems the world is falling apart.
We're your emergency managers.
Man, I love that video. I just think it's great. That's a tool that you guys can use as well to share with your officials, with the people in your community. of what emergency management is, because that's one of the biggest questions that, over the years I've received when they say, "Oh, what do you do for a living?" You're like, "Oh, I'm an emergency manager," and people, "What's that?" And I think we're the only profession that has to look at the federal partner to explain, what you do at the local level. No one has to, no firefighter, police officer has to say, "Oh, here we are. This is what I do at the federal level," and at the local level, they know what that is. And I think it's getting better. But we still have to get out there. A video like that was well produced, well worth what we did last year. And it's an evergreen video, and use it and share it. What do you think, Spencer?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a couple of videos that were produced, and I think anything that can talk about who we are and what we do in a medium that connects with people is really important. The joke that I always like to say when we do the EMA 101 and talk to people about who we are and what we do is I say, I will know that we will have arrived as a profession, as an emergency manager, when we have a Chicago. I'm like, what do you mean? I go, you have Chicago Med TV show, Chicago Fire, Chicago Law, Chicago. When we have Chicago EMA, I will know we have made it.
I was thinking a musical, so I was in a completely different place.
There you go.
I would love Emergency Management, the musical. That would be fantastic.
Oh, I can only imagine. But no, I mean, it's important to get those visual mediums out and talk to people, because like I said, like the video says, we are behind the scenes a whole lot. And we are not ones that are out there tooting our own horns and taking curtain calls and things like that. And I also say to folks, like, we need to start to do that. We need to start making ourselves more visible in our communities, what we do and how we do it, so that people know who we are and why it's important. I always, when I talk to folks, I say, would you move to a community that had no fire service, fire department? No, I'd never do that. What about a police department? No, I'd never do that. That's, well, how often in the last 5 years have you called the fire department or the police department? And they, well, that neighbor was noisy one time, and so I had to call them, and this and that and the other. I'm like, would you move to a community without an emergency management department? What's emergency management?
Right.
Exactly.
I just got finished on my end, and the tournament's still going on, but with what we had to do with FIFA. And, I worked with some of the greatest emergency management professionals over the last, year in Los Angeles, and everybody's great. I'm just saying the way we did things and the planning, the pre-planning, the walking through, all the stuff that we were working with on the security professionals, with the law enforcement professionals, with the fire guys, putting everything together, medical plans, everything that we could possibly think of that would happen, and worst case scenario, and everything. So we knew that we could produce one of the safest and fun games that we could do in Los Angeles. And I know that my partners in the 16 other stadiums were doing the same, because we were on calls all the time. And the amount of planning that went in to put the FIFA World Cup together so everybody was safe, it will blow your mind. And we're talking years of this. We're doing the same thing for the Olympics right now, as they're coming forth. And, I worked with people, different phases, all the way from Boston up to my friends that are up in Seattle and on the West Coast here, and they call it the San Francisco Stadium, but Santa Clara, Los Angeles, Houston, Dallas, Kansas City, Philadelphia, New Jersey, all of them on phone calls and talking about what's going on and sharing intelligence and all this stuff. The amount of work that went into putting this game on that no one will ever see. Mm-hmm. And that's what we do, and we have to share that story with everybody so they know what's happening. And the cool part about this, for at least here in Los Angeles, like I can only talk about, my experience, is that we had elected officials coming in from all levels of government. We had the Secretary of Homeland Security stopped by to take a look at what we're doing. And I know we stopped at a couple other different places. We had Secret Service Director stop in and come in to shake our hands and say thank you for what we're doing. And that's that. You know, we're not looking for the pat on the back, right? We're looking for recognition of that we are doing the stuff in the background that no one in the public will ever see. And you know, talk about on stage and off stage, right? And I'll use this as an example of Disneyland, right? Disney wants to put together a great experience. If you go on to a Disney cruise, you go on to to Disneyland at the parks, the theme parks, the experience that the people have is always magical, right? We don't see all the craziness that's happening behind the scene, and you know the stuff that's crazy happening there, and that's what we do. We make sure that your experience when you're in our community is great and magical, and that the stuff that's happening behind the scenes is you know, could be a little chaotic, but you know, we don't see it. Rachel, what's your experience with that?
So that you're bringing up Disneyland, and it's bringing to mind at least two different, you know, analogies I've heard to kind of describe it. And one is the stage manager, that when you go and you see a production of musicals, I guess that's just on the brain. But let's say you go to a show and you watch it, you aren't seeing all the stuff that's happening backstage, and they are making sure that things are seamlessly happening. I've also heard, you know, at least in terms of pre-planning, one of my great friends in EM likes to use the analogy of being the conductor.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, I don't have to be the best tuba player, but I need to be able to bring all of the instruments and everybody together that make for the great symphony. I don't have to play the instrument. I have to make sure that I'm bringing in the stakeholders and knowing the partners that we need to perform on performance day, and training and exercise. I love this analogy because it can just go on and on and on. Training and exercise is like the rehearsal so that we're ready to perform on, you know, opening night. And we never know when we're going to have our concert, but I'm making sure that we're ready for the concert when it's going to happen. And I completely agree. I think our work is most visible when something goes awry. And so I think it's great what you're describing is it's not about, you know, the recognition, the attaboy, the attagirl, pat on the back, but it is about the recognition of the value that this profession brings to the table and how critical it is. And so increasing that visibility, making sure that the people who make decisions, who decide budgets, understand just how critical and valuable the investment in emergency management really is.
Yeah,
So-
Rachel, yeah, I could not agree with you more. And I think one of the things that I always talk to people about, and I've, you know, for 25 years, this has been rattling around in my brain, is taking a quote from our friends over at the CIA. One of their things is our failures are known and our successes are not.
Absolutely.
And so if we as emergency managers do everything right, no one knows we were there. When we mess up, and I don't even have to say it because everybody is already thinking, our mistakes, missteps are very, very, very widely known.
Absolutely.
And so that stuff, and I think it's very different than our other public safety partners. So you think about law enforcement, you know, they're successful when they catch the bad guy, and people see that. That's a good thing. Our firefighters are successful when they put the fire out. That's a success. That's visible. Our EMS partners, they save the life. That's seen. What's our success? No one died. The thousands of people in our community don't die because we prepared months in advance.
Right.
No one saw that. How do you quantify that? How do you get that on the 6 o'clock news? You know, that's real tough.
There's a great comment that I see came up from on LinkedIn from Jamie Smith, who's another emergency manager that I really respect in California, and talking about, you know, starting to quantify our impacts and look for metrics that matter so that we can start telling our blue sky story and showing our value there. So I think that that's a good call out. That's something I'd love to see the profession continue to do, is tell our story and find ways to quantify our impacts, find those metrics that matter so that we can start. We don't need, a bad day to tell our story.
I'm going to read this. I'm going to read this really quick, just because so people who are listening not look at the video. It says at California local level, I'm trying to get us to quantify our impacts, capture the footprint of an emergency manager program. We need to stop just doing really good work, and we need to show the work so people don't take it for granted. Absolutely, Jamie, and that's why I left it up there for a bit. I think that's one of the things that we're trying to do with this awareness month is really, putting the pen to the paper here and showing what we do and why we're important, and why, I'm a retread. I'll say that I came from fire EMS into emergency management, and but I embrace the profession. And one of the things that we have to do is understand that this cannot be a collateral duty, because by the time that you really pick it up and figure out what's going on, you're rotating out of that position. It has to be a professional position that people take seriously, that the community takes seriously and invest in. And that's one of the things that we have to fight for as well. I'm sorry, Spencer, I cut you off.
No, yeah, and that's important to think about. And Jamie, that's a great point. Thank you. And I think that quantification leads directly back to, budgets, staffing, personnel. Like, the more that we can do that. And yeah, Todd, to your point about collateral duties as assigned, I can't tell you the number of folks that I talk to who introduce themselves as an emergency manager, but then it's like, well, I'm actually the battalion chief for the department, and I'm just here, like you said, I'm here for the next year, and then I'm rotating. A new battalion chief is going to kind of go, okay, well, what's your emergency management background? I'm a battalion chief with the fire department, and I always like to talk, when I talk to folks, I say, now let's flip that script. How would a fire chief feel if I'm a first generation emergency manager? I've never been anything else. I've never been fire, law, military, anything. How would a fire chief feel if I walked in as a trained emergency manager and said, I'm going to go run this fire department's operation division? Well, what makes you qualified to do that? Well, I'm emergency. I got an emergency in my title. Isn't that all the same stuff? It's not.
Right.
It absolutely is not. And so just because, and once again, I love working with our firefighter partners and law enforcement partners and things like that, but one does not equate to the other.
Well, one of the funniest things I heard was an emergency manager in California. She was retiring. I won't out her because I never asked to share this question, this statement. So we're sitting around and we're, congratulations, this is great. And somebody said, oh, so what are you going to do now? And she's like, I think I'm going to become a fire chief. Because of all the fire chiefs that retire become emergency managers, and I thought that was hilarious. The idea behind it, but and there's no look. I'm not throwing shade. I to my friends and brothers and sisters in the fire service, but the idea here is if you're gonna do it right. Go get educated on it. Figure out what you're doing. Don't take 2 ICS courses and say I can now hang my shingle as an emergency manager. As there was an article in Police One magazine talking to lieutenants about taking some emergency management courses, and you too become emergency manager when you retire. That's not how it works. There's more to this profession than just running some calls in the field, and it's a whole different skill set. So,
and that's where I think we'll bring it back to Awareness Month and the work that we're trying to do with advocacy is, we need to start making some changes at our state's legislature level on what qualifies as an emergency manager, because we all know that if you're going to be in law enforcement or fire service or EMS, there are very, very specific state qualifications and standards that you must meet to be in that profession. And I will speak, I'm in Georgia. I'm the director for Macon County Emergency Management here in Georgia. In Georgia, the only requirement to be an emergency manager is that you are approved by the state emergency management director. And our joke here is that there are more certifications to become a tattoo artist in Georgia than there are to become an emergency manager in Georgia. And I know that's very similar throughout many of our states. And so we need to start raising awareness and raising our visibility.
Absolutely. Rachel?
I mean, I agree. I think that was really well said. I completely agree. Kind of what you were talking about in terms of having a rotating person. I think I've seen some organizations too, and I won't out them either, where the rotating person is the head of the organization. So maybe there's an EM team underneath, but the leader is constantly changing because the public safety person is rotating in and out. And that's not conducive for maturity, at least not. It's not conducive for developing a mature program, and it's unfortunate, and it's not fair to the people who are stuck in it. So I completely agree. Soapbox. I could get on a soapbox, but I won't.
Right. I was gonna say, I think we all could. I think going back to some of the stuff that we're doing with IAEM, having a body of work for emergency managers by emergency managers. I know the Journal of Emergency Management is one of the ones that's doing a pretty good job of this. One of the reasons why I think this is important is if you look at some of the books that have been written in the past, and we could go on the academic side of this here for a minute. I don't want to get too far down the rabbit hole, but earlier on, books were written by sociologists, right? That were studying the human behavior during disasters. Then we have books there's a book that I have on my bookshelf behind me, The Fundamentals of Emergency Management, and there isn't one single emergency manager who they were all fire police background. And the one guy who is emergency management is fire. There was a fire guy that worked. So, and I think it's important to realize that as emergency managers, one of the things that I ask you guys all to do is please add to the body of knowledge. Go ahead and write. Everybody has the ability to write, right? How many times can I say write in a sentence? You don't have to be a published author, but you can add things to the bulletin, add things to the blogs, add things to other places where you can write for the Journal of Emergency Management or things like this. I think that's critical. Here's somebody just posted this. Knowledge management is big. Absolutely. So, and again, people who are in the other services, fire, police, EMS, public health, that are looking to do emergency management, I'm not saying we're trying to do a closed shop here. I'm saying if you want to move into emergency management, take it seriously, get educated. Whether you're going through the academies at I was about to say EMI, NDEM, right? You go to the academies at NDEM, you go through the training at your local level. Here in California, you have CSTI. Take the CSTI courses, learn what emergency management truly is. Don't just step into the role because you have, those public safety jobs behind you, because it's different. And we owe it to our community. We owe it to the people who we serve to make sure that we have qualified emergency managers sitting in those positions, doing the job. And again, open tent, more people. I'm happy, but just make sure you take it seriously and get trained. That's all I'm asking.
Completely agree. I feel like, there is a valuable skill set there in having a background in public safety. There's already a kind of, you get a lot of it. But I think you said it really, really well, Todd, that if you're going to do it seriously. And I would add to that, just to make sure that I was clear, the person being over the EM organization being public safety, it shouldn't be a rotating position. If we're going to put someone in that role, put someone there who can really drive the ship and stay at the helm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Todd, I think you took one thought out of my brain. Was I was going to say, we are the big tent profession. I am very happy to welcome, folks who have been doing other things into emergency management. For example, some of the best trainers and exercise professionals I've seen are former educators. Why? That's what we're doing. And so it makes sense, but like you said, take it seriously. This is not a secondary duty. It used to be, let's not get it wrong. It used to be lateral duty, secondary. You were the civil defense nuclear guy, and you also did this. Understand that's where we came from. But we are in IAEM and our other partner organizations, NEMA, Big City EM, we are all trying to very deliberately move this profession into a space that you can go to school, be trained as an emergency manager in school, get out, get that entry-level position as an EM specialist or whatever you're starting out as, and start learning and getting that experience. Like this is great.
Jamie Smith is on top of it again, right here with this statement, and I'll read this. And we're getting here close to the end. So, a huge win for us in San Diego. OA, it's the operation area, has been getting visible and influence for EM topics under getting formal section with the County Chiefs Association. We also pushed California to get a large stage alongside with CISA by developing an EM section under the Cal Chiefs Board. And the buy-in, as a result, is worth the time investment and the push for these legacy and formal structures, including EM, as a separate asset in its own right. Absolutely, Jamie. Thanks for sharing that. I know there's been a lot of work on from the CISA is our state association. I'm a California person too, if you guys didn't know, and so it's great to see the work that's being done. Jamie, thanks for sharing that. Absolutely. Here's one of the other things. I'd like to see communication be in the forefront of emergency. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we agree. At least I do. I don't know. I'm speaking for Rachel and Spencer on that one. But man, I tell you, I could talk about this all day long. Spencer and Rachel, I want to thank you both from IAEM for the work that you guys are putting in, and for the team. It's a team for sure that's doing a lot of the work for National Emergency Management Awareness Month in August. If you do not or have not visited the website, I'll put it in the show notes. Please go to it. Take a look and link through all the stuff that's there, all the resources that are there. And I'm going to have Spencer and Rachel say the last words, and we'll close out. Spencer, go ahead.
Just thanks for just trying to get this word out, and really take the time. And when I talk to some local emergency managers, especially the rural communities, like I'm only an emergency manager for a small town that has 2,000 people in it. You are the exact right person we need. Don't sell yourself short. Get out there, talk to your mayor, talk to your county commissioner, give them a tour of your EOC. It's like, well, my EOC is only a conference room with some computers in the corner. Great. Show them that and talk about how you need a proper, fully ready to go EOC. It's all these really great opportunities. And just do what you feel comfortable with. If you have questions, comments, that's what we're here for. Hit it in the connect message number section, and we'll get back to you. Thank you, Todd.
Absolutely. Rachel.
The only thing I would add is just exactly what Spencer said, which is that there is no just about any role. I think in this EM world, you are not just anything. Even I can't tell you how many people I've talked to who say, "Oh, I'm just in grants. I'm just the public assistance branch." There is no just. These are critical pieces. Every piece is important. And, the work that you do matters. This is our time to tell our story, to tell your story. So recognize, own the work that you do, and be proud to tell your story.
Absolutely. Thanks for those words. As always, everybody, look forward to seeing everyone in Long Beach for the conference that's coming up. And until next time, I will, as I say always, stay safe and stay hydrated.
Coffee stain badge on a lanyard string. Hotel ballroom, buzzing, fluorescent wings. Name tags, crooked inside jokes. We live on acronyms and conference notes. Late night panels, early flights, still swapping war stories under dim lights. If the world goes sideways, who they gonna call? The weirdos taking roll in the expo hall. I am Talks Tonight.